Indonesian is a beautiful language spoken by over 250 million people, so I thought I would invite Vremita along to come and give us a few tips about how to learn it.
Indonesian grammar is unique. We don't have plural, tenses, gender, mood, or conjugation. We use the right words to express those things instead. So when you learn Indonesian, rather than focusing yourself on the grammar, it's important to focus on the vocabulary to express these things so that you can express yourself more comfortably in Indonesian.
Wah kurus, gue turun 7 kilo pas gue lagi ujian. Habis itu liburan.
Indonesia is a huge country with over 17,000 islands, and we have lots of different ethnicities. And when you are in Indonesia and you hear Indonesian, they might speak differently from what you usually learn. So just keep that in mind.
Where I come from in Java, if you want to push something, then you say pencet. But in her region...
Where are you from?
We say pencet. No, pencet.
Jangan gitu
She said
dong.
pencet, where I say pencet, but it's the same thing.
Next tip, learn different ways to say no. In Indonesian, we say no a lot. So learn the differences between when to say tidak, enggak, tak, bukan, jangan, and any other forms of no, including yeah. In your language, you're probably used to say certain words or phrases. But when you learn Indonesian, you're probably surprised that we don't actually use certain words.
We don't say cheers. We don't say cheers, and we don't say nice to meet you when you met someone. Like, it's gonna be very weird. So you just say bye.
So what do we do in these kinds of situations? Well, here's one tip. Just like when you learn a language, mimic it. Mimic how the locals do. And there you go. Indonesia is a very warm country, and Indonesians are very warm and friendly people. So if you're learning Indonesian, one of the best things that you can do is to practice with us, with Indonesians.
In order to be easier for you to learn English is
Indonesian.
Oh yeah.
Mingle with many Indonesians as much as possible.
Okay, here's an advanced grammar tip. In English, it's definitely normal to use active sentences, active voice. But in Indonesian, we tend to use a lot of passive voice.
Internship juga, internship.
Aminin aja ya, didoakan saja deh.
Amin. UCL juga.
So sometimes it's not right to translate directly from English to Indonesian. So try to think in Indonesian. Think how Indonesians think, including how to use passive voice. In Indonesian words, it's important to distinguish the sound of the letter H. You have to be clear when or where not to pronounce it, because it will change the meaning of the words. For example, in worst case, instead of saying bye to someone, which is dada, you could probably say dada to someone, which means breast.
Dada. It's Indonesian Indonesian popular way to say bye. It's dada. You just say dada, okay? And then don't confuse it with breast. It's also dada. FYI. Okay.
Indonesians tend to have the stress placed at the end of the word or sentence. For example, kemarin saya pergi ke bioskop. Yesterday I went to the cinema. But also, it's important to remember in which part of Indonesia that you hear this sentence, these dialects. Indonesian word order is pretty simple. It is pretty similar to English: subject, verb, and object. For example, I'm reading a book. Saya membaca buku. Which means when you're trying to say something in Indonesian, and if you think the sentence in English, then the word order in Indonesian would probably the same as in English. Some or most of the time.
Oh, and this is dada with H. What about dada without H? if you really want to learn Indonesian very quickly, it means you have to hang around and mingle with Indonesians. One of the sources that you can go to is www.polyglotindonesia.org. Now you can ask people in Polyglots Indonesia to hang around with you, and then you can meet up with one of us, so then you can hang around with us. That would be one of the cool sources for you to hang around with us. Wait. www.polyglotindonesia.org. Bye.
Now, Indonesian is a cool language spoken by over 250 billion people.
What's this tip again?
I'm gonna tell you some tips to learn Indonesian. Shut up, girl.